Good morning, welcome. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Nikki and I do work at APRA AMCOS. We're thrilled that you're here. And of course, I would like to begin today with an acknowledgement of the traditional owners of the land on which we're meeting. That's the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. I'd like to pay my respects to their elders past and present and extend that to any First Nations people who may be joining us. It's a gorgeous day on Gadigal land, a little bit warmer than expected, but I'm not unhappy about that, and I just thank them for the care that they've given and just so grateful to be here. And here we are, connecting the dots. This is going to be a great day. Super pumped for the panel that we have. A little bit of housekeeping. So some of you have already found the bathrooms are just down the far corridor here on the right at the end, and take a right. That's where our bathrooms are. We do have accessible facilities here on level 4, and there are bathrooms on the ground level as well. We will be finishing today at 12:30. We do have to exit the building because the alarm will come back on, so please make sure we're out by 12:30. We're going to have questions for today's panel through Slido. It's using a QR code. That will be displayed on the screen at the end of my presentation, so you'll be able to just use your phones to ask questions of our panelists. Other than that, I think that's all my housekeeping. I reckon we are good to go. So I'm going to give you a really quick APRA AMCOS 101, the fun stuff. Ha-ha! Here we go. APRA and AMCOS, two separate organisations. It's possible to be a member of just APRA and not AMCOS, or you can be a member of both. We actually each manage different types of copyright. So you as songwriters, you transfer these rights to us to manage on your behalf. APRA, as the name suggests, the Performing Right Association, looks after performing rights, and I'll talk about what they are specifically in a moment. AMCOS looks after just one area of copyright, the mechanical copyright, which is when copies are made of your words and music. Now, we banded together in a partnership in 1997 to make things easier for you, our membership, so that you are actually able to join in one go. If you're eligible for both, you have one membership account with us. You only need to register your works with us one time, and it keeps things nice and easy. So here we go. These are the specific types of royalties that APRA and AMCOS can help you manage. APRA looking after those performing royalties, the right of public performance, because you as a songwriter actually have to give permission for the use of your music in these ways. So anytime your music is performed in public, be that something like played in a retail space or a gym, or of course when you play live yourself at any concerts, venues, pubs, restaurants, whatever it might be, even some open mic nights or council licensed busking areas, you are entitled to royalties for those live performances. So if you're out there playing live performance royalties coming at you. We look after the broadcast right, which is exactly what it sounds like. Broadcasts on radio, broadcasts on television. So if your music is being used in that particular way, you could be receiving APRA royalties for that as well. And then the last right there is the right of communication, which is essentially any time your words and music are being transmitted via wires, which can be things like music on hold on telephones, but a lot of the time we're talking about streaming. The internet is via wires. So APRA looks after all of these types of rights, and if your music is being performed in these ways, you can join APRA and receive royalties. Now, AMCOS, as I did mention earlier, really just looks after a very specific area of copyright, the mechanical or reproduction right. So when your words and music are copied in some way, there could be a mechanical royalty due to you. Of course, this could be physical copies, like CDs and vinyl cassettes, if that's your thing. And if a third party makes those copies, a record label decides to press up a song that you've written, then there could be a mechanical royalty coming to you for that. Digital copies, so digital downloads, that is a copy of your words and music being made, and therefore an AMCOS royalty due from that. And then the last one here is synchronization. I will go into this a little bit deeper, but essentially synchronization refers to any time your words and music are set to visual media. So we could be talking about a film or a TV show. Quite often we're talking about Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, visual media with your words and music. That's a synchronization there. Now you'll notice as I'm talking, I continually refer to the composer or the songwriter, and that is because that's who APRA AMCOS members are. We only represent the rights in the actual composition, in the words and the music. And that's what we're able to pay you royalties for. But obviously, a lot of the time, your compositions are going to be recorded and released. Now that sound recording, or the master, as it's sometimes known, actually has its own separate copyright. So anytime a sound recording is reproduced, there are different organisations that look after the copyright to do with the sound recording. Here in Australia, the PPCA would look after the public performance of a sound recording, and you may be receiving royalties through a record label or even a digital distributor or aggregator for copies of a sound recording being made. But they are separate. And although she may not be everybody's favourite, I do like to think of Taylor Swift in this particular example, because you've probably all heard how she's re-recording her early catalogue, and that is because she will now own the masters to those early recordings. Previously, her record label would have owned the majority share in those. Therefore, although Taylor was being paid by APRA and AMCOS as a songwriter when her music was used here, she wasn't necessarily in charge of the master. And by re-recording and bringing that into her own control, she's now receiving royalties for both. So coming back to this one here, live performances. This is the number one way that the majority of APRA AMCOS members earn their royalties, because it's super simple. I'm hoping that all of you here are familiar with the Writer Portal and maybe even the APRA AMCOS for Music Creators app, through which you can log live performance reports. And when you do that, you're telling us the venue you've played at, the date that you performed, and you're attaching your set list, both your own original works and any covers that you've performed. So we are going to pay you royalties for performances of your own originals, and we'll pay the songwriters of any covers that you performed as well. That's how you're getting the permission for the live cover. We have Naz here from management here, One Day Entertainment. I'm guessing she may be a little familiar with a live performance report. Possibly one or two of her artists have filled these in. The rate at the moment is about $3 per song, so it really can turn into a very nice way of earning some extra money from your music. Of course, I mentioned broadcast. So we do pay when music is played on radio. Now, commercial radio is played quite differently to community radio. Commercial, as you might expect, the Oz Stereo Network, like Today FM and Nova, that sort of thing, they have millions of dollars coming into their stations, millions in advertising revenue, and of course they reach millions of listeners. Therefore, the license fees that we're able to apply to a commercial radio station are very, very high. And the return that you see in royalties when your music is played on commercial radio are consequently very high as well. You can see there $6 to $20 per play on commercial. It's quite nice. Now, community radio is a different beast, and many of you here may even have worked or do work in community radio. You'd be very aware that it's drastically different. Community radio is usually run by majority volunteers. They might have one or two full-time staff members, But basically they rely on donations and a little bit of government funding to get by. So we simply couldn't charge them the same types of license fees that we apply to commercial radio, because we'd put them all out of business, which is absolutely not what we want to do. It goes against what we're here for. So community radio pay a lower license fee. Consequently, there's just not as much money to pay in royalties from this particular type of use. We get data from commercial radio telling us every single song or jingle that gets broadcast. They have the facilities and the infrastructure to do that. But a community radio station run by volunteers doesn't have that kind of infrastructure. So they report to us for 4 weeks throughout the year of what they've played throughout that week. And we then supplement that by going to AMRAP. And we're very lucky to have Andrew from AMRAP here today, who's going to tell you all about that service. It's kind of like a digital distributor specifically for community radio. And when your music is programmed from AMRAP, not only do you get radio play, but we're able to pay you as well. So moving on to another type of distributor, the digital distributor, also known as a digital aggregator. So this is where you go when you want to release your music online. So you want to start putting your songs into Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. Go through a digital distributor. These are basically third-party companies to which you're going to upload your recordings, and they're going to push it out to all of the stores. We've got some examples there for you on screen. When it comes to choosing a digital distributor, the best thing to do is talk to other people, look at other artists you admire, and get an idea of distributors that are doing a great job, and maybe get an idea for some that people have had trouble with. That's kind of the best way to figure it out. If you're in a very niche market, for example, electronic dance music, you may find that there are specific stores that only certain distributors will place your music in. So there can be sometimes little areas you need to check into like that. Make sure your distributor sends your music to those niche stores. Now, the beauty of going through a distributor is that not only will most of these major streaming platforms only accept music through a digital distributor, but it also ensures that your music will be correctly tagged with what's called metadata. And that tagging means that each of these platforms, like Spotify, like YouTube or TikTok, can identify your music and report it to us. It's guaranteed to get reported that way when streams occur in our territory. Oh, one more thing. We do have Luke from Sound On Digital Distributor, who's Sound On TikTok, is here with us today. So, of course, very, very excited to hear more about that particular service because it is one of the newer ones. So, and moving on to synchronization. I did very briefly mention this at the top, so we're going to get into it here. As I said, synchronization is the right that comes into play anytime your words and music are set against visual media. Now, the interesting thing is that synchronization right is not automatically assigned to organisations like APRA and AMCOS. You, as a songwriter, actually retain that right until you sign to a publisher, for example, and you would then assign it to your publisher. They would manage synchronization for you. But until that time, synchronization remains with you. So if someone wanted to place your song into a short film, for example, and you were an unpublished songwriter, you would be able to handle that license yourself. We do have Kate here from the SyncHouse today. She's going to take us through the world of synchronization, talk a little bit about how music gets placed in film and TV, and that's going to be a really interesting area. I know a lot of musicians ask about how they can get their music used that way, so looking forward to that one. Writer Portal. I'm hoping everyone here is like, yes, we know the Writer Portal. We love it. It's great. This is where you log in. This is where you're going to register your works with us. You're going to tell us what song it is that you've written, Who wrote that song? Was it just you? Did you have some co-writers? And of course, very, very importantly, what are the royalty splits? And I know that you all talk about the royalty splits with your co-writers and get those agreements in writing. Yes? Everyone's nodding. Great. I love it. Now, obviously, a formal contract is ideal when it comes to royalty splits, but honestly, if the best you can do is get an email to which everybody replies and says, yes, these are the splits we agreed to, then that's better than nothing. And we've definitely used emails exactly like that to have proof of ownership against like major publishers in the USA. So better than nothing. And as I mentioned earlier, live performance reports, those are available in your writer portal. You can also log live streamed performance reports. That's another little area that we pay a royalty for. So if you do perform live from your lounge room via Facebook, TikTok, Instagram or YouTube, you can actually receive royalties for that as well. And the form for that is in the writer portal. Here is where you will find out all of your payment information. Download your statements. You can generate an end of financial year tax summary. You can keep track of where your music is being played around the world. You can see which of your songs are the most frequently paid and what type of royalty they generate. So are they getting streaming? Are they getting radio play? It's all there in your writer portal. Most importantly for us, you can keep your bank and email address up to date. Please do that because we love to pay you and we love to talk to you and invite you to events like this. So all of your contact details can be updated in the writer portal. I did also mention we have an app. A lot of people still don't know this. It's downloadable straight from the Google or Apple app stores. And it basically functions exactly the same way as the writer portal, just right there on your phone. So literally, as soon as you finish writing that song and everyone agrees to the splits and types up their email, you can register that song immediately via the app. You can finish playing a gig and log it immediately via the app. You can keep your bank account and contact details updated via the app. So all of this is here. One of the things you may find most helpful about the app is that your digital member card is here as well. So if you ever use any of our benefits, for example, the excess baggage allowance on Virgin and Qantas domestic flights, you can show them your digital member card. All of this on the app, anytime. You can see the dates you joined, your IPI, everything is there. You can also set up access for members of your team. So if you have a manager, an accountant, a best friend who you just want to share everything with, you can give them secondary access to your membership. So each team member is going to have their own unique login and their own password. So we will always know who has been accessing your account and actually what they saw. You can set this up for them. So you just log into the portal, add a team member. You can give them different types of access. So your bookkeeper can have access purely to your financial information. You don't have to give them access to everything. But if you have a wonderful manager, like I'm sure Naz is here, you can give them access to do everything, to register your songs, to log your live performances, to get your end of year financial summaries, and they can do all of that work for you. If you ever want someone to be able to work with staff here at APRA AMCOS, we also have something called a letter of authority that you just simply, it's a PDF, you fill it in, sign it, and then we're able to answer any questions that your team might have as well. So that's all there and we can help you out with that. As another benefit, and we do have a lot, we give discounts on all kinds of stuff, but let's talk about this one. We have a National Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Music Office. So this is basically a team of First Nations musicians themselves who are here at APRA AMCOS working with our First Nations writers. And they are working not only to promote the work of our Indigenous members, but they're there to build a kind of bridge between the understanding of copyright as we see it and the way that an Indigenous person would. So, as I've already acknowledged Country today, they don't look at ownership and things the same way that we do. So this team is there to build a culturally safe space, advocate for our First Nations members, and make sure that their rights are respected exactly the same way as any other writers. We have another one of these 101 sessions that will not be done in 20 minutes. We do these regularly online. So the next two are coming up on May 9 and July 2nd. You can register via our website. I have QR code here. There's also the QR code in the little break room. Please, if you want more information, more detail about what your APRA AMCOS membership actually entails, what we can offer, what we're able to do for you, register for the 101, get a refresher. We may be doing more now than when you first joined, so please come along. It's online, totally free. Sign up for that one. Another benefit we offer in terms of webinars are the insights sessions. So with these, we're basically delving right into particular areas and topics that you, our members, write to us and ask about all the time. So we've done everything from copyright basics to licensing and selling your music to where's my money, to infringement. We've done grant writing and funding opportunities already this year. And the next one that's coming up is next week, performing and releasing other people's music, which is basically working with cover versions and arrangements. We'll talk about sampling a little bit, but when you want to use other people's music in your own or entirely. And after that, understanding your royalty payments, where we're going to have the director of our distribution department break down how we collect money and how we pay it out to you. So he's going to do a bit of a deep dive on some of the areas, particularly streaming. So that one comes up a lot. So these are online. Again, I've got a poster in the break room. You can register for these. Get in touch. We're here. This is our building. Welcome. We're pleased to have you. And we are here. And if we're not here, we're working remotely. So please reach out via the live chat, via email. You can call us as well. And we're here to help. So if you've got questions, you're not sure about something, reach out. Hopefully we have the answer. And if we don't, we can probably point you to someone that will. As promised, the QR code for questions. So this is the one I'm gonna leave this. I'm gonna take this one away. Today, we're gonna have all questions through this. So at any time you have something that you think, oh, I'd like to know a little bit more about that for one of our panel, please pop it in the Q&A and we will get to it. But how did I do? Oh, early. Amazing. I'm literally out of things to say. Thank you. So you know what? You didn't come to hear from me, really. You came to hear from our special guests. So please let me bring to the stage our panel. We've got Naz, Luke, Kate, and Andrew, and our wonderful moderator, Alex. Let's get the Connecting the Dots panel happening.
Thank you, Nikki. I'd just like to quickly introduce our panellists today. We've got Nazlican Eren, or Naz, artist manager at One Day Entertainment and Cherub artist and presenter at FBI Radio. We've got Andrew Khedoori, manager of AMRAP and co-founder and music director of Longform Editions. And then we have Kate Richards, who is actually an ex-APRA employee. Welcome back. Assistant music supervisor and licensing coordinator at the SyncHouse. And then right down there at the end, we've got Luke Byatt from Sound On TikTok Music Strategy and Development Manager. To get started, I'll just go down the panel and ask you guys to introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about what you do and how you came to do what you do.
Hi, my name is Naz. I work in artist management at One Day Entertainment, which specialises in mostly hip-hop, rap and R&B. That's an area I'm really passionate about. I'm also the presenter and creator of Juice on FBI Radio, which is the only hip-hop, rap and R&B program at the station as well. I've also done some independent management in my time. In COVID, I actually launched my own management company called Cherub Artists. My background is initially in PR though, so I came up through doing public relations for artists like Ballpark Music, San Cisco, and Hockey Dad. I'm also the co-creator of, I think, the only national female trans and non-binary writing camp called One Off Tracks, which is a really exciting initiative that I co-founded with Elephant Tracks and Offbeat Collective. And I also do some curation. I'm on the panel for Big Sound this year as well. So yeah, I'm a big believer in grassroots communities and organisations. So that's where a lot of my work lies.
Andrew?
Standing on my mic. I'm Andrew Khedoori. I manage AMRAP, which is the Australian Music Radio Airplay Project, which is a project that's been running for 2 decades. Not that I've been there for 2 decades. However, it's a project that essentially looks to connect Australian music artists with the thousands of community radio broadcasters across the 450 stations that is housed within the community radio network across Australia and playing a lot of Australian music, and importantly for everybody who's here today, new Australian music, because new Australian music is where it's at for community radio. We've got thousands of volunteer presenters who want to discover new Australian music and get it to their devoted audiences. Community radio plays about 37% Australian music across the board, and so it's a really great place to invest your time and get your music out there. And AMRAP, specifically amrap.org.au, is a website where you can put your music up, and then a broadcaster can find it, listen to it, and if they like it, they can download it and play it on their radio show. So that's the essence of what we're doing at AMRAP, but overall at the Community Broadcasting Association of Australia, where I work, Australian music is a massive priority for us, and we want to raise the presence and visibility of new Australian music on community radio. So we have a roadmap for the next 10 years to do that, and AMRAP and its various external activities outside of that website are about what we're doing to raise that visibility and presence for Australian music on community radio, which is really probably for a lot of you the first place where you'll get an audience and awareness for what you do. Thanks.
Thanks, Andrew. Kate, over to you.
My name's Kate Richards. I work as an assistant music supervisor at the SyncHouse. So music supervisors essentially curate music and manage all the licensing on behalf of a production or an advertiser or any of our clients. So productions, I'm primarily on our reality projects. So I work on Love Island, Australian Idol, The Voice, The Masked Singer, all the singing shows are mine. And then we also have worked on projects such as the 1-4 documentary that came out on Netflix and Bay of Fires for ABC, The Clearing on Disney, and big range of Australian productions. Yeah.
Amazing, thank you. I'm fangirling over the Love Island thing. And Luke, what about yourself?
Hey, I'm Luke Byatt. So I'm the music development and strategy manager at SoundOn. You may have heard of like Gyrostream, Ditto, Orchard. So SoundOn is TikTok's music distribution label, but I also work across TikTok product as well. So we specialize in getting your music out there to digital distributors, not digital distributors, DSPs. So that's where my focus is. I work with a team all around the world, as well as Australia. We've got a dedicated operations support team here, as well as promo, etc. But my history actually comes from non-for-profit. I started at Q Music, so the producers of Big Sound, where I was doing community engagement. I did a bit of background in artist management, as well as public relations, and I also ran a music blog for a number of years. If any of you are fans of dance electronic music, I ran Future Mag Music, and then that proceeded to go into Ministry of Sound, where I spent 3 years there before jumping across into SoundOn. So super excited to have the new distributor launch in Australia, and hopefully I'll see some of you guys putting your music through our pipelines.
Beautiful, thank you. And I have another question for the whole panel. At what point would an artist or songwriter need your services or benefit from your services? Naz, we'll start with you.
I think when the right time for an artist to have an artist manager is when I think they have a really solidified understanding of who they are as an artist. That doesn't really mean like branding and strategy, because that's where I come in, but you know, a really strong catalogue, a really strong understanding of who you are and the vision that you want to implement for your career. And that's when I'll come in as well. And also when it gets to a point where you can't really look after all the admin stuff by yourself, because I'm there to take that load off. But yeah, I think it's all circumstantial as well, because I know some artists, managers come in from the very beginning and develop an artist for a number of years before they even launch. So yeah, I think when it's the right time, and I'm a big believer in the artist manager kind of seeking out the artist as well.
Yeah, for community radio, it's really about when you've got your first radio-ready song. That doesn't mean a hit, just something that is recorded well and that a broadcaster will be able to put on the air because the recording's good, as well as the song being appealing to them. So if you've got that, it's a really great time to start engaging with the presenters at community radio. And as Naz was saying, yeah, there's a right time to get a manager in to do that. But I think using community radio as that network to learn the ropes and learn how to engage with people. And then as you develop that sense of yourself and what you want from a manager, I think it's a really great time to develop your identity through networking in community radio, getting your music out there, getting an audience, getting awareness, knowing who your people are. I think that if you use community radio to find those people who are going to want to know about what you're doing every time you do something, then you just gain a little bit of an understanding of your coordinates in the Australian music scene. And then when a manager decides, as Naz said, you know, the manager finds the artist, once they start talking, you have a really strong idea of what you want a manager to do, and that's a really important thing to do. So community radio is a really great grassroots medium, not only to get your music out there, but just to get your foothold in the industry as well, and know a little bit about who you are as you develop.
Can I just add to that? I just want to add that I found my artist Tiffy through community radio, and I signed her through FBI radio, and I'd never discovered her, and it was all because of the previous music director, Reg Harris, who playlisted her, who found her music on Bandcamp. She was 16 at the time, independent, Western Sydney. It was 4 a.m. I was doing one of my last overnight slots before I moved into my regular show, and yeah, the rest is history.
The system works.
Yeah.
We love Reg. He actually used to work at APRA. Yeah. Kate?
Yeah, I think my job, I sort of sit more on the TV production side, but we're constantly seeking out artists and original music of all different levels. So, like, we may have projects that are a lower budget thing. So, you know, something like AC/DC or Dua Lipa is just way out of budget. So we're definitely looking for a more grassroots kind of artist. And like, again, I've found stuff through community radio, particularly if it's like we did a project the other week. I had a brief and the artist, they wanted a WA artist. So I was going through WA community radio to really try and find those artists and sort of what's happening in that scene there. And just jumping off the back of what Andrew's saying, like, make sure your recordings sound good, because yeah, it can be a great song, but if the recording quality is not up there, you might lose the spot. Yeah.
Luke, what about you? At what point would an artist or a songwriter need your services?
So really similar to community radio, as soon as you have a song ready that you want distributed to any DSPs, including specialty DSPs for your dance electronic folks here, you would be coming to Sound On or another digital distributor such as GyroStream, Ditto, etc. And we're the pipes to get you through onto those platforms. We also do offer bespoke deals, which we consider like a Sound On Plus deal. So that is your funded distribution service. So think more so Orchard or Believe or one of those higher tier digital distributors. On the note of community radio, like that's been a massive discovery point for not only like our AP team, our artist partnerships team, but also like personal discovery. And when I was working in artist management, that was how we got the artists we worked off the ground. So we worked really closely with Fresh FM in Adelaide, and then that spiraled into getting 4ZZZ, FBI Radio, SYN, etc. On board. And with that support, we were then able to amplify that through our pipelines. So at the time, we were working with GyroStream, and the team there were able to amplify the community radio wins into Spotify wins, into Apple Music wins, and then that then further snowballs into export opportunities down the line. So this panel is a really great opportunity to have an understanding of like the full pipeline and opportunities that you as artists and songwriters and producers and composers, etc., can have. So, yeah.
Definitely. Thanks, Luke. Andrew, I'll start with a couple of questions for you. So you were previously music director at the community station 2 SER. Was AMRAP an important tool for you during that role? And in your experience, do a lot of radio stations, community radio stations, rely on AMRAP for programming?
Yeah, so just on the 2SER front, as a music director, I get the privilege of listening to music all week and deciding along with other people what the station airs week to week. And I just get a tidal wave of music coming at me. The great thing about AMRAP is that it makes things a little bit more of a level playing field. A lot of the music that was coming at me that was being serviced is, part of a resourced team and management team that is looking after an artist and trying to get saturation point for that artist, and full respect to those people doing that. But there are other artists who don't actually have great music but don't have that team behind them, and AMRAP really helps for you to get in front of people that need to know about your music and want to know about your music. So yeah, I used it a lot, and I made some amazing discoveries through AMRAP that I would not have gotten otherwise because they just didn't end up in my inbox. So yeah, absolutely. And as far as the broader community sector is concerned, yeah, so I mean, just some stats. We've got about 2,000 active users on AMRAP every month, and we've got about 7,000 releases that are being uploaded to the site. And we've got, on aggregate, about 250,000 downloads per year of music that's uploaded to AMRAP. So that's a lot of music being funneled through AMRAP that's being discovered by broadcasters all over the country. So you might actually have connections with your local community radio station, or you've made inroads there, and both Naz and Luke talked about those stations that were really important in building artist awareness, but that's only like a really small percentage of community radio. So what AMRAP does is that allows you to reach so many more broadcasters, especially in regional areas where the station is the only station. And so if you can get your music on there, it's really valuable to kind of get one community who's listening to that station week in, week out, listening to your music. I mean, there's 5 million people that say that they listen to community radio at least once a week. So it's a lot of people to find. So if you can hit other stations using AMRAP outside of your Freshers, your 4ZZZs, FBIs, 2SERs, Triple R and PBS, that are the big ones, the known ones, then it really helps just to incrementally create that awareness of who you are. And you can even map tours around that as well. If you create an audience in certain areas, you can go there and you can play a show because that community radio station has been supporting you for quite some time. So yes, there's a lot of stations that use AMRAP, a lot of broadcasters on a monthly basis.
And how would an artist get started on AMRAP, and what are some of the features of AMRAP that an artist can use? I mean, you said, you can plan tours around that. Is that some kind of feature within the website?
You can map your tours. So basically, you'd go to amrap.org.au. It's a free sign up. You sign up and create an account. When you create an account, you also create a profile. So it's a little bit like a social media profile. So AMRAP sort of works a little bit like a cross between a social media platform and a Bandcamp platform. So broadcasters will log on and they can search through the various filters that are available to them when they log onto the site. So if you've got a profile and you've uploaded music onto the site, then a broadcaster will go on and they might say, I want to know what's happening in Western Australia this week. So they can have a list of Western Australian artists that have uploaded within a certain time period up on AMRAP. Or if they're just looking for new folk music, for example, they can do that. Or if they're looking for new First Nations music, they can use the filters for that as well. Similarly, you as an artist, you can search for broadcasters, so you can use the same filters. You can find broadcasters who typically download folk music and are interested in folk music on AMRAP. So you can reach out to them via the messaging platform that we have and say, hey, here's my music on AMRAP. Maybe you could give it a listen, download it and play it. And we build really great networks that way through that messaging platform. And to answer your question, you can put your tour dates up there as well through bands in town.
And then, Andrew, just on that, as an artist, are you tagging your work, folk, First Nations?
Yes.
Yep.
So you've got the option to tag appropriately. So you can tag up to 4 genres on the site. So you could be folk, blues, country, pop if you want. And then you can use those identifiers any way you like, LGBTIQA, First Nations, male, female. There are lots of ways to identify yourself on AMRAP.
Great, thank you. Kate, over to you. So what's your process for finding music and artists to use for sync opportunities, and how would an artist get noticed by you?
I guess my process of finding music really depends on what my brief is. Sometimes you get briefs that are very time specific. So we had a show that was called Paper Dolls that came out on Paramount, and it's all 90s, and they wanted pre-1999 pop music. So it was obviously going through Spotify, going through, the ARIA charts of the day. So that was a big thing for me. But whereas when I'm finding new music or different briefs, it's, you get a brief from the producer and it might be a certain theme, or they might have a song in mind, but it might be too expensive for the budget or just not quite sit right. So you think, looking at things like lyrics, instrumentation, sometimes they'll want female vocal, male vocal, all of those kind of things. And then, Spotify is a big one, and just I listen to a lot of music, so just pulling from my brain that. And then you can also reach out to your publishers and your labels as well and ask for their suggestions as well. So that's sort of what a publisher or a label should be doing for you. If you're signed to one of them, they should be pitching to people like me. Yeah,
You probably have a million playlists on your Spotify.
I do. They're all fun.
And so how would an artist get noticed by you? I mean, if you're obviously doing a lot of your own research, you're seeking those works and those artists out, but if an artist wanted to...
Yeah, I think you can just... I'm pretty open to be hit up directly with stuff. Famous last words, dangerous. But I think getting on things like getting radio play, whether it's community or commercial or Triple J or whatever, that is so important. Playing shows, being on lineups, being present on social media, being on TikTok, all of these things just feed into each other and, get the ball rolling of getting you noticed. And, you never know if, a TV producer sees you at a festival or whatever and they go, oh, I'm really into that. And they might just have that song in mind for their next project. So it's, it's kind of...
Get out and about, be seen.
Be out and about, be visible,
That's pretty much answered my next question as well, but is there any advice, I guess, musically for artists looking to have their work synced in film and television specifically? I mean, is a more generic sort of sound or topics, or, is there any advice you can give on that?
I guess it really just depends on what the project is. I don't think you should just write for the sake of getting a sync, because I just don't think that will lead to the most authentic work, and people can see if it's authentic or not pretty quickly. So I think just create what you intend to create, and if it's for the right project, it will all link up. I think it's really important, if you want to get syncs, is have WAV files available, have the regular version, have a clean version is really important. Have an instrumental version is really important. And if you're uploading to DSPs and all of that, please include your lyrics. Having your lyrics in there is so good for me. If
Even
I'm
just for fans, right?
Oh, it's so good. It's so helpful. There's nothing more frustrating than not being able to read the lyrics, because a lot of briefs we get can be quite lyric specific too.
I might just jump in there because I've had a little bit of experience with syncs across a range of music. That's the labels I've worked with, and just to echo what Kate's saying, just make the music that you make. I mean, I've worked with sync agencies, and the range of music that was found across the catalogue that I was working with, it just stunned me what they wanted to pick up and put in various, film or TV or advertising opportunities. It's really great. But I might just add one thing, apart from having the WAV files and the instrumental version, have the stems, because there are a few opportunities where, the advertising person felt that something wasn't quite right and they wanted like the strings a little bit more down in the mix and stuff like that. And so if you can have those stems available and just be malleable with that, then it gets your track a little bit further up the ladder to where it's passed. I've been involved in syncs that took 6 months to get up, and it's quite a process. So having those stems in that process was incredibly valuable.
Wow, great advice. Thank you. Luke, over to you. Can you tell us a little bit more about Sound On and how the service benefits our artists?
Yeah, for sure. So I guess the main difference between Sound On and other digital distributors is our deal structures. I'm sure a few of you are releasing music via sort of the plug and play system where you pay a fee and it goes through the pipelines and you can pay for additional services, for DSP pitching, etc. So for Sound On, we've got a few different options and deal structures. The first one is an organic. So that is 100% royalties for you for the first year, 90% royalties every year after that. And that will come with all your operation support, and it's just sort of a plug and play. If you don't want additional support on that side, that's sort of the basis. The step up there is an Open Plus deal. So that is an immediate 90-10 split with the Sound On team. So instead of waiting for the second year, it's 90-10 from the first year, 90% going to the artist firstly. With that, you automatically get DSP pitching support. Obviously, that doesn't guarantee placements in DSPs, but you'll have a human, which will, if you're releasing via Australia, New Zealand, will be me, pitching that out to editors and artist partnerships people at the DSPs. We're not limited to just the Australian market. We've got teams all around the world. We've just opened up a Northeast Asian office, which looks after APAC, and we've also got a Southeast Asian team. So if you really want a specific focus on a certain region, we can facilitate that for you as well. And the one step above that is what we call a Sound On Plus deal. So a Sound On Plus deal is your funded bespoke deal. So I'm not sure if any of you have had those conversations with Orchard or Believe. So these deals come with a funding aspect to it, and the royalty split or the payment split is a little bit higher, usually around 80-20, maybe 15% towards the distributor. But there we have recoupable deals, non-recoupable deals. It very much depends on what you and your team negotiates with the artist partnerships A&R team inside, but you get a full service. So you'll have full marketing support. We act basically as a label in that circumstance, and we'll be representing you for whatever the contract is decided on. But in terms of the open deal and the Open Plus deal, that is a no lock-in contract. Just sign up via the website and just plug your music in there and we'll get it through the pipelines and we'll do what we do from an operations perspective.
Great, thank you, Luke. And another one for yourself. A quote taken from your website reads that your career is dedicated to championing artists and brands with a unique point of view. With that in mind, can you tell us what is it that makes an artist stand out to you?
A point that's been brought up a couple of times here is authenticity. Yes, I know I work at TikTok and there's a bit of discourse around creating music for TikTok with 30-second clips. My personal perspective of that is don't do that. Please don't write music solely for TikTok. That just, one, devalues the opportunities on platform, because if you're only focusing on TikTok, you're neglecting other promotional routes. And if people only care about that 30 seconds of TikTok or Instagram or wherever you're promoting it and they're listening to the full song, you're not gonna like build a fan base. Please focus on authenticity. That's a big part of where I've built my career. A lot of the artists and people that I work with have been, very underground and have built up into a successful career. So all of what they're focused on and what I focused on is authenticity. It could be a unique angle that you're approaching your music from, or a unique story. It's just presenting yourself in a purely you are you perspective. Don't do it for anyone else. Obviously, if you are looking for a grand commercial success, there are certain things that you need to keep in mind, but I wouldn't have that as the driving force for your art and your creativity. So that's where I sort of approach it from, looking purely from an authentic angle.
What are some of the services that you offer as an artist manager?
Apart from being a glorified babysitter, no, it's all love. Being an artist manager means that there's a lot of things that I can do, and it's also I've had to learn a lot of things on the go. So first and foremost, I'm the representative for the artist. I think that a lot of artists and creatives really love to focus more on their artistry instead of being loaded down by all, I guess the corporate admin side of the music industry. So I'm there to, there be a support. One, look at their music and see how I can market that, build a world around the artist. I think it's really, really important that artists have a world for people to draw them into. Creative strategy, branding. I also am in charge of creating opportunities for the artists. That means reaching out to so many different people in Australia, labels, publishers, sync, brands, brand agencies, to try and, get them money outside of that, touring, booking agents as well. I also do A&R. I think that's a really important part of management that people forget about. I am an A&R. I have developed and worked with artists from the very beginning. I've put them in really amazing rooms, and that's a really fun part of it, having that creative side and I guess the more marketing strategy side as well. I also look after their accounting, making sure they're compliant with tax, liaising with the tax agent as well, making sure that we are keeping track of all the funds that they accumulate, checking their APRA, live performance returns as well. So just making sure we're across the board of everything. And I think that's it. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
I'm sure there's a million other things. And so you yourself, what do you admire in an artist? What do you look for in an artist? What do you admire about them? And what makes one act stand out from the others and makes you want to manage them?
First and foremost, it is the music. And I know that we can get distracted by everything that's going on right now. And I just want to acknowledge that it has never been as hard right now, one, to not only work in the music industry and break an artist, but two, to be an artist. I really empathize for everybody right now that has to deal with so much. But I think when you can take out all that noise and just focus on what's important, it really is the music. I have signed all my artists based on the music. Tiffy, that example, I shared who I found from FBI. I didn't even know what she looked like. I didn't even check her following or check her social media. I literally heard the song and said, wow, I need to work with this person. So first and foremost, yes, it is the music. Second, it is the artist. I have to meet them and I really have to have a connection with them, because I think artist management really comes down to this. You need to believe in the artist more than they believe in themselves, because what other industry is it okay for you to work for free? But that's what I did, and that's what I do sometimes, because there are years before you even, can invoice them for a commission. So you really, really have to believe in the artist, and because that is a driving force, and you need to be there for them when they don't even feel like getting out of bed, because that's another thing that we have to navigate as well. So first, it's the music, and second, it's the artist. Do they have drive? Do they have an idea about what they want to do? What are their passions? What are their goals as well? If I think I can really add value to that, then we're all good to go.
Amazing. I want you to be my manager, and I'm not even an artist.
I need a life manager.
Yeah, you can do that for me. I would love that. Andrew, we'll head back to you. Well, we've kind of gone over this, but what advice would you give to artists trying to get radio play? Would you encourage artists to contact stations and broadcasters directly, which they actually can do through AMRAP? And do stations still accept drop-ins and physical demos? That's probably one we haven't really covered.
Yeah, look, it changes from station to station. FBI has an open day once a month where you can come and meet the music director and talk about your music and have it listened to and have it appraised and see where it fits in the FBI canon, if you like. But yeah, I mean, you know, all stations are different. All stations are resourced differently. Some have staff, some don't have staff. But, you know, look, it can all start with an email. I would suggest that there are loads of broadcasters out there who love to be contacted and they love to be found and sent new music. They kind of feel special because they're volunteering. You know, Naz says that, you know, she's done a lot of work for free. These people are doing it week in, week out, simply for the love of doing radio and getting that music out there and appealing to an audience with that music and saying, this is great, you need to know about it. So they do love to be contacted, but they are people with jobs or they're studying or they've got other, you know, life commitments, and it might take them a while to get back to you. I know a lot of broadcasters who now have an auto reply on their email. It just says, thanks for your music, I've got it, I will listen to it, I may not get back to you, I still may play it. So you've just got to contend with a whole lot of variables there, but just put yourself out there. I know artists who have contacted me and said that they've sent out like 500 messages on our messaging platform to broadcasters. They've got a good percentage of responses, but they got no responses, but they still made it into the charts, which is our weekly charts that shows the most downloaded tracks of every week. So it does work. I mean, it is a grind. I mean, there's a lot of emotional and relational labour that goes into being an artist, you know, whether you're doing it through Instagram or social media or contacting broadcasters, especially at the early level. There's a lot of work that you have to do, but if you really believe in your music, these days, yes, it is harder than ever to get out there, but try and put yourself in all those pipelines, as Luke put it. Just be a part of the whole ecosystem and don't ignore any part of it, and just try and give yourself that opportunity and that time and that space to get out there, and also give yourself a rest as well, because it's a lot of work and it takes up a lot of headspace, and you'll be knocking on a lot of doors and you won't get an immediate response, but just keep going. That's really what's important. As far as community radio goes, the great thing about community radio is that if you do find your people that want to know about you, the whole aspect of keeping going is where it's at, because community radio gives you that impetus to make more music, and they'll get it out there, and that's where you build that audience, you build that awareness. And as you know, the other three panelists here today say, they look at community radio and they can take it to other levels through community radio. So it is really about that ecosystem and pushing yourself forward in all aspects of it.
Can I just jump on the back of that? Like, yeah, in sync, like particularly in Australia, we have so much music. Like, we seriously have access to every piece of music ever created at our fingertips, and there are so few sync spots. Like, there are not a lot of sync spots, which is unfortunate. So I think sync is such a patience game. Like, it's like everything's sort of got to fall in line. Like, it's just not going to happen instantly, and you may send out emails, you know, to music supervisors or publishers and not get any grabs, but it might just not be a grab now, but you never know, in 6 months they might have a spot that actually suits you. So yeah.
Actually, sorry.
I was going to say, I've got a good example of that. So the artist from Adelaide that I worked with, we worked with a local advertising agency who was sort of acting as our sync agent, as a pseudo sync agent, constantly pitching out his music, and it was a no response. And then a year and a half later, bam, we just got one out the blue, and it's about patience and luck and opportunity as well.
Can I just add,
yeah,
sorry,
please.
to the back of what Andrew was saying, as someone who has been pitching and uploading to AMRAP, which I think, is a really important tool no matter how big you get in the industry. Don't forget about using it. And as someone who has been pitching to presenters all across Australia and someone who gets service music every week, it is really important to know who you're servicing to and making sure your music aligns with the station. And a great way to do that is going into the station, and all the stations like 4ZZZ, RTR, SYN, PBS, countless others actually have all the contact information on their websites. They then have their presenters' contact information on the website. So a great way to pitch is looking through all the broadcasters, seeing where your music fits, reaching out to them, then reaching out to the music director, letting them know that you've also reached out to the relevant shows. And if you don't know what shows you think your music sounds great on, a tool that I love so much, Eren, is where you can go and search and see where your music's being played, where artists that live within your world have been played. I use that tool every week
It's
for
a really
my
great
artists.
hack. Yeah,
it's so great.
What Naz is talking about is the AMRAP Airplay search. So that's a separate function to amrap.org.au, and it surveys stations through a software function. So a great hack with that is that if your music sounds like Tiffy, might maybe just drop Tiffy, in the search engine and see who's playing Tiffy's music across Australia. And then from there, you could contact those presenters and say, look, I noticed that you give quite a few spins to Tiffy. My music's, in the same vein. Here it is, have a listen. So the great thing about the Airplay search is that soon we'll have cloud technology that is going to map community radio station airplays across the whole sector. So we only have a small percentage who are locked into that software function that Naz is talking about. But towards the end of the year, and what this means for APRA AMCOS members is that there will be more airplay sampled by more artists and more royalties going to more artists. So it's going to be really valuable for you to be a part of that.
Just a quick one on this topic, actually. Kate, do sync agents accept demos?
Most of us sort of do, but it's also the inbox can get overloaded. So if you are pitching, I think it's really important to, what Naz and Andrew were saying, was pitch yourself. Where do you see your song? Do you see it, you're like, oh, this is a Love Island kind of esque thing, or do you see it on an ad for Nike or an Apple ad? Have a look at what's out there and sort of you've got to advocate for yourself and tell us where you envision yourself as well, because I think that's really helpful for us and sort of helps us understand what kind of projects you're interested in working with as well.
Thank you. Luke, we've kind of already gone over this a little, but what similarities do you see, if any? Sorry, this is the question, but I don't think it's really relevant anymore. Basically, what advice would you give to a songwriter who's seeking exposure on TikTok? And you pretty much said, don't. Just be authentic, write your music for yourself.
The short answer is don't, but the longer answer is if there's a couple of different angles that you can approach TikTok. You can approach it from, I want to be viral, I want to have the #1 Billboard ARIA chart track. To put it really bluntly, if you're going into TikTok with that attitude and that mentality, you won't succeed. A lot of TikTok is luck. Yes, there's things that labels, marketers, managers, etc. can do to give you that leg up, but a lot of trends and a lot of things that do go viral on TikTok are just random, organic procedures from fans, people randomly picking it up. If you do want to sort of seed something down that avenue, you can do artist-led content or content from you as you. A good example of that is Kenya Grace, Strangers. She started that song by just playing on a drum pad in her room, and it got picked up by the algorithm. And she just doubled down on it, and it kept appearing in people's feeds. People started using it in their own TikToks. Organic trends started to appear, and then that spiraled into the track being signed and just propelling further. Also, the trap is don't solely focus on TikTok. The algorithm can be fussy. The algorithm can be fussy on Facebook, Instagram. Diversify where you're promoting your music, and as we've mentioned before, be authentic with how you're approaching it. Yes, there's ways that you can trick the algorithm, but don't make that your whole thing. It comes off as inauthentic, and people just don't end up trusting or wanting to engage with your music. But yeah, just get your music out there, spread it everywhere that you can, and be music first and then visual second, because the music, as we spoke about it quite a lot, is what speaks for itself.
Thanks, Luke. And Naz, I had the pleasure of attending the One-Off Tracks rap party last night, which was great. I had a chat to some of the participants and they had nothing but wonderful things to say. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, and how did it get started, and also how do you select participants?
Yes, One-Off Tracks is undoubtedly the greatest achievement of my short but busy music career thus far. The idea was born out of One Day Entertainment. We are an artist management company, and we're based in Newtown, and we have this amazing office that's home to 4 studios across Enmore Road. I've never worked in a place where I can be sitting downstairs at my desk working on my artists and hearing the amazing works of, we manage 18-year-old man. He's a Grammy-nominated ARIA award-winning producer, composer. He's produced for Lil Nas X, YG. He composed Mystery Road, the second series. He's currently in LA doing sessions with some of the biggest artists in the world. So we get to hear him compose. We also look after Len 20, who recently just worked on the Jess Mauboy album, working with Nick Ward currently, and Grant Perez as well. We also have artists come in and out. So it's an amazing space. What I noticed was, though, particularly in hip-hop, rap, and R&B, it is very male-dominated, and I was the only woman working there. And also, the only woman in the building. I was surrounded by amazing guys, though. So, and I noticed that. And I also started managing female non-binary artists. And I realized that I was sending them into sessions with male producers who I trusted and who I really think they're amazing. But I didn't really think about what that meant for them to walk into a room with someone they'd never met before and be like, I'm going to be really vulnerable right now and, create a song based off some things that have happened to me. And I was seeing that more and more, and I thought, there's a new generation coming, like One Day Entertainment, Elephant Tracks, they're legendary hip-hop establishments, but at the forefront, there's women at the helm of that, and I wanted to change that. So I was looking at the studio spaces. I reached out to Carolina, who was the A&R at Elephant Tracks, and I said, hey, what do you think about combining forces, and let's create a writing camp in this field of music, in this genre of music, and let's change the narrative of that. And we had Jana, who is the founder of Offbeat Collective, which is an amazing, amazing community studio space based in Marrickville. If anyone is looking for studio spaces, please hit her up. They do residencies. It's super affordable and really integral to, I think, the Sydney music landscape. And we also had my colleague Minori, who joined the team at the time. And we just worked really hard, and we created this program, and we launched. So we established that in 2022, and last year we launched officially. We were completely grassroots. We got knocked back for Create New South Wales grants. We got knocked back for other grants, and we launched with literally no money. Then we fundraised the money ourselves through amazing sponsors like JD Sports, Young Henry's, Sony Publishing, shout out Craig, honestly, best guy in the industry, also Audio Technica. The first camp was Sydney only, just because we didn't have the funds to open it nationally. I was also really lucky to have an awareness of writing camps. One of my artists, I used to work with Boy Soda, worked in the so-called New Zealand APRA Song Hubs with Jordan Rakai, so I had an understanding of how these writing camps worked. We then launched our application process, which was just a Google form which asked the applicants what they were looking to learn about, and of course it's always about sync and live, and we actually had Margot from Sony Publishing, who's been a sync executive in TV, come through to the writing camp on Thursday and share a bit about that as well. So, and we also asked for demos. We also ask for what they want to get out of the camp and why they need the camp as well. And we launched last year. We had 22 applicants, and we had 3 days of writing sessions at our studios and Offbeat Collective. 3-hour sessions per day, 3 to 4 hours. Last year we had industry talks every single day. This year we changed it just to allow Max the most time in the studio sessions. And I have never felt, I'm even getting emotional thinking about it now, because you don't understand what it's like to go into these studio spaces and see female, trans and non-binary creatives making music without I don't know, it's just really, really solidifying, and it's really affirming, because I think there's still such a long way to go with gender equity in the music industry, and we just prove again and again that we have, right now we've probably got a directory over 300 to 400 female, trans and non-binary artists across Australia. So whenever anyone says to me, it's really hard finding female rappers, or it's really hard finding non-binary producer, no, it's not. You just have to look, and you just have to try a little bit harder. So we have feature producers, and this year we had Milan Ring, who is it was a fangirl moment for me, because I think Milan is one of the most amazing creatives in the country. We also had Lucy Blomkamp and Veta Bourne, who have both had amazing cuts. Maribel, or Veta Bourne, has had cuts with huge K-pop groups, and Lucy Blomkamp has won an APRA award for her work with Maisha, has worked with international artists like Black as well. So it was really amazing. We had a launch party last night at Offbeat. We listened to all the demos, and I can't even explain to you the standard of demos that we listened to were phenomenal. I was already saying some of them are radio ready, which is insane that they made that after not meeting. They were only meeting for the first time and only had 4 hours. So I guess the point of the writing camps is, 1, to create and foster community, but 2 or 3, to get these artists, writers and producers to a standard where, a major label A&R executive can turn to them and be like, we're going to put you in a room and you need to create a song in 4 hours, because that is the standard, and it's what I see comes out a lot. So it's about getting them to the same place as, all the other male producers, writers and artists in the country.
You've obviously created a really safe space for these people, and it's an amazing achievement. I have so many more questions that I want to ask you guys, but we only have time for maybe 1 or 2 more. Kate, I did want to ask you about sampling, because I think a lot of artists in the room would be interested in that. How can sampling another artist in your work affect any potential sync opportunities?
Just going off what Nikki said, please register your songs in APRA. That is how I find out who you are and who owns the song and how to license it. And if that information is not easily accessible, I am a really good internet stalker. I seriously will hit people up on Instagram. Yeah, no, I know, but it's work-based. I will have to, to get in touch with people and try to work out who owns the song. I've messaged people on LinkedIn, which is really weird. No one messages on LinkedIn. And artists. So just to, have your email in your bio, reply to, all of that stuff, but make sure your splits are registered, for one. And then also, who uses samples in their music? Look, as long as you have clear the sample with the publisher and the master owner, if required. But I think, it's something to think about. If the sample is a real top tier artist, it means that your song it might drive the price of your song up, which may mean it's unaffordable for the production. And if you're not a super well-known artist, it sort of means you're out of the running, which is a real shame. So just have a think about like who you're sampling and, you know, if sync's a big thing you want, just that's something to have in the back of your mind.
Great, thank you for that advice. We're actually just going to wrap up and open up to some audience questions. Thank you so much, guys. This has been an incredible panel. You all have an amazing wealth of knowledge, and I think that everyone in the room has hopefully benefited from what you've had to say. But we will open it up to audience questions now. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Jerry. So I think I'll start off by just saying there was quite a few questions that came through that were related to APRA and royalties. So if you do want to answer any of those questions, feel free to come up to myself, Nikki, or Alex afterwards, and we're more than happy to answer anything.
Or email us anytime.
Yeah, or send us an email at writer@apra.com.au. But yeah, I guess to the questions you guys have asked. The first one I'll say is for Luke, which this came through a few times, which is how much does Sound On cost for the deals you described?
Zero, absolutely nothing. No out of pocket for you guys. There's no fee. The open deal, we've structured it to be incredibly artist friendly. So that's 100% royalties, no fee, nothing. That's our key point of difference besides being directly connected to TikTok is no upfront fee, no hidden fees, no fees whatsoever to get your music out to DSPs, even the specialty stores like Juno, Tracksource, etc. for the dance playlists. If you're focusing on the Asia region, we also deliver to like Melon, Line, and all the stores. So no hidden fees, no fees whatsoever. So that's Sound On's key point of difference.
Very nice. Yeah. Another one for Luke, which was how important is the quality of the content around your music on TikTok?
Okay, so it depends on, it's very individual depending on the quality of the content. You may see some really lo-fi content on platforms that works exceptionally well. Peach PRC is a good example of that. She's a great storyteller. The visual aspect of it is not great, to be honest. It's not professionally shot. It's just on the phone. So that's one aspect to it. But if you go to the other side of it, where you see basically highly produced music videos on platform, like Young Marta is a great example of that. He knows how to tell a story visually and has a huge, not a huge budget, but has VFX involved in it. It's a big range. It's all about storytelling rather than the quality of the video. Obviously, audio is important as well. What we highly encourage you to do is deliver your record to TikTok and use the official PGC delivered sound. So that is the sound that goes through a distributor, label, etc., rather than using the UGC sound. The main reason for that is, yes, you could be teasing your song using the UGC sound, but as soon as it starts getting released, that can be flagged within our systems for copyright reasons. So we highly encourage you to deliver your music ahead of time. Sound On can help you deliver the track to TikTok in advance, about 2 weeks out from release. Other distributors can't do that unless you do like a tricky setup where you deliver to TikTok first, and then when the official release is ready for distribution, you don't deliver to TikTok. So that can really mess up your metadata. And as we have all covered, please keep your metadata really clean. It helps so much.
It helps me so much. Like my day as a music supervisor is I am best friends with the APRA website. Like that's most of my day is spreadsheeting percentages. If things don't add up to 100, most of my day is spent working out who owns the 0.01%. So yeah, just make sure all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed in that respect.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with the metadata. Okay, so I have a question for Kate. You may have answered this in the panel, but is there a site where we can look for people to contact for sync opportunities, or is there like for a particular show?
Oh, it's hard to know like which music supervisor is working on which show, but Disco is sort of the music supervisor sync world platform for uploading. So it's essentially like a website that people can download WAV files. You can upload, include all your metadata in there, and so I'd suggest looking into Disco. I'm not quite sure. Most people I know who use it are like publishers or labels, so I'm not quite sure if you're an indie how that would work, but yeah.
That is one thing that SoundOn can distro to. You just need to flag it with us via our operations route, so we can also service to Disco as well.
Perfectly. And then, I think, again, just being out there, you can potentially look at who's producing things as well. Bit of back end extra research is always good.
Yeah, cool. Now, Kate, I have another question. It's two parts, which is one, how do you price for sync agents if you own the music yourself? And then also, is all the music used in non-exclusive or exclusive agreements?
Oh, that's a good, okay. So with the sync agent one, so I'm technically a music supervisor, and then a sync agent is a whole other job. So a sync agent is more like similar to a booking agent in that they'll represent your work and pitch you for sync opportunities, whereas I'm, as a music supervisor, on the other end, so I'm working with the production company, I'm looking at their budget, sort of managing that, clearing all the rights, making sure everything's licensed properly. So a sync agent should be taking, they would probably take a small cut of, if you get a sync, they should be taking a small cut of whatever the license fee is usually how that kind of works. And then with, what was the second one? Exclusive, non-exclusive?
Yeah, exclusive or non-exclusive.
So it depends what the sync opportunity is. So that obviously will, price up or down something. So things, I still call Australia home. Everyone knows it's on the Qantas ad. That would probably be exclusive for advertising. So they want that as their like brand sound. So that will definitely increase the price of it. But it also means you're losing out on other opportunities because you can't license it for other advertising opportunities. So most TV spots, like if you're placed in a, TV show or something like that, that's usually non-exclusive. Like it's, the exclusivity thing really only comes into effect with advertising most of the time. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, something for Andrew. Can you submit radio airplay for your own works from community stations to AMRAP?
Can you submit radio airplay?
Community station plays to AMRAP.
No, you can't. So it's all measured via the software function, and then what will happen is that when this cloud technology comes into play towards the end of the year, you won't need to do that because the cloud will pick it up wherever it's being played. So you don't need to submit community radio airplay to AMRAP. Basically, that's one thing you don't have to do. As an artist, you've got a lot to do, but we'll have templates, and you can see it in the back end of your AMRAP account. You'll just have you can currently in your AMRAP account see who's downloaded the work, and you can contact them and say, hey, I noticed that you downloaded my work. Will you be playing it? But then towards the end of the year, these templates will also have airplay reports that you can date range, and you can contact the broadcaster who's played it and see if they want to follow up with an interview or any other opportunities as well. So you don't need to do that work.
Awesome. So this one's kind of for whoever really wants to answer. But in terms of reaching out to community radio or sync, is it best to be pitching new music or previous catalogue from, say, the past couple of years?
I might jump in here. I really like seeing sort of a range of people's projects. So, obviously, like sometimes it's like your new single thematically might not work, like lyric content, it might not be the right thing, but I'm like, oh, I like the sound of this artist. So it's good to see a range of different music. Look, we're sending Spotify playlists, like send your best things at the top, but I'm if you're sending a playlist, just sort of include everything you think's relevant.
Anyone else want to comment on that? No? Okay. For Naz, what is one tip that you would give to a self-managed artist?
Oh my gosh. First of all, wow, I'm really impressed by self-managed artists. I think that a lot of artists that cut through are the ones that are independent and have a community around them, more so a manager. But what I have plenty of tips to give, but I think the first one is just to make sure that and I know I've been bringing up admin a lot, but it is so important. Just make sure all your admin is in place. Have a one sheet ready for when you're pitching yourself out. Have all the information that people like Kate, Andrew have been like asking for. Make sure you have all of that ready, all of your files ready. The more prepared you are and the more kind of like established you can make yourself seem, like it really does make the difference between seeing who is, and I don't mean this in a derogatory term, but an amateur and who is like really serious, because I don't think artists realize is being an artist means being a professional. Like you have to be professional and you have to treat this work like you would do an office job. So yeah, I would just make sure that you have everything organised, and to have a community around you, and don't be afraid to reach out. I get messages and DMs from self-managed artists all the time, and asking for help, asking for advice, and I am always there to jump on a call with them or to redirect them to someone else. People in the music industry know how hard it is, and they're always there, to support one another, because we're all going off experience, as a lot of people mentioned before, but going off luck. There's not really one rule that applies to all. So yeah.
In terms of sync, sometimes we do reach out to a lot of unsigned, self-managed artists or people who own their own copyright. Do not be afraid to ask us a question, or you see something in the terms we send through and go, I don't know what this means. We are more than happy to explain to you what that means. Most of the time, we'll jump on a call with people just to talk them through that, because if it's someone's first sync, we want them to understand what they're agreeing to as well.
Yeah, same on the distro side. Just generally don't be afraid to ask questions. You're not alone in this industry. Yeah. We've all started out from scratch.
And I'm just going to add to that, if you do get a sync deal or a distro deal and you're a self-managed artist, get a lawyer. Oh my gosh, yes. Get a lawyer before you sign anything. Get a lawyer if a manager is approaching you. Also, do not sign an agreement straight away with a manager. That's, everyone is circumstantial, and that's something you have to work out. But get a lawyer, and also do your research on lawyers. I know a lot of artists go to, say, this one law firm, which they're amazing, but they're so expensive. There's actually a whole range of lawyers available for you across all the Music New South Wales websites, APRA, all the governing bodies across Australia. I forget what
You can get free advice.
Yes, you can get free advice.
Which is absolutely invaluable as well. Yeah. Patience and due diligence, I think, are really key when you're managing yourself. Just, be kind, don't be overly demanding, ask those questions, but be patient, and just, once again, learn those ropes. Just take time to learn the ropes, and do your due diligence on the people that you might end up working with, whether they be lawyers and how much they cost, hidden fees, all those kinds of things. I think it's really important to know, when you see your statement at the end of the day and you're like, hang on, I thought I would have gotten much more, ask those questions up front, so when it arrives to you, you kind of think, okay, makes sense.
I wanted to add as well, as a self-managed artist, I think it's really important as well to use APRA as much as you possibly can. We have a website that, we have so many instructional videos and different pages on how everything from songwriting splits to submitting live performance returns. We have incredible videos that Nikki features in, so many of them, to teach you little bits and bobs and teach you how to use it and navigate the portal properly. So, and then obviously we're always contactable for anything specific via email. And
could I just want to jump in with maybe something anecdotal that might sort of paint a picture. I know that Alex probably ran out of time, but she did want to ask me about community radio success stories, and I had a whole raft of new ones and old ones, but going all the way back, my sort of favourite story from working at 2SER was opening up this package that was really crudely put together, and when I opened it up, this really badly packaged CDR fell out onto the floor, fell out onto the carpet. I'm like, oh God, what's this? And like, I dusted it off, put it in, and the music was great. And about 4 days later, I got an email from the person who sent it to me. It was Wally, aka Gautier. And this was someone who spent a lot of time putting these CDRs together, sending them out individually, and following up straight away and said, I sent you a package. Did you get it? Did you listen to it? What are you doing with it? And I said, actually, I've been listening to it since you sent it. It's going to be the album of the week. That album was called Board Faced, and that eventually got reissued by a really big label. And that music was completely instrumental. He wasn't doing vocals or anything like that. And that's where it started for him, was community radio. And he showed that due diligence. He was patient, but also on it. And I think that that's a really important set of coordinates to map for anyone's career when it comes to developing your pathway. And essentially, that gave him the impetus to keep going, to develop his music into what you probably know it better as today. And so that's a really good story, I think, that shows that you can do it and you should do it.
That's great. Okay, with one final question, and it is about songwriting. So for probably Naz, but for artists who are self-managed and don't have a label behind them, what's the best way for them to get involved in songwriting camps?
The best way to get involved is just, one, checking the APRA website when they're running APRA AMCOS, like Song Hubs. Song Hubs is a really, really amazing initiative. It happens 4 times a year, which is like really great across the country. And we know that these are really competitive, but you just have to try. And so, yeah, that happens. One-off tracks, we're hopefully going to be doing another one next year, and we want to move into doing more quarterly songwriting camps. So just keep up to date with that. I know that there is a songwriting camp also in Western Australia, in Perth, that is for female, trans or non-binary artists and producers as well. At the moment, they're the only ones I know off the top of my head, but you can actually create songwriting camps for yourself as well. It's just looking at artists that you love, songwriters that you love, and reaching out to them and saying, hey, do you want to jump into a session? And we've actually done that with our own artists and have done a writing camp for them across our studios over 4 days. So it really is possible to collaborate and connect with the artists that you want to, and we showed that with one-off tracks, putting people in a room that would have never been in a room together and pushing themselves out of their comfort zone. So if you think you're alone in this industry, you're not. You just have to put yourself out there. And yeah, I love collaboration. I think it is one of the best parts about working in the music industry, and some of the songs that you can make when you take yourself out of an environment that you usually work with, it's just really phenomenal what you can achieve. So yeah, definitely don't be afraid to send out a DM being like, hey, do you guys want to work together for maybe start off with 1 day, 2 day, and then yeah, just keep up to date with what's happening in the industry in terms of the songwriting camps as well.
Just on that, you mentioned APRA AMCOS doing songwriting camps, organising it yourself, but distributors also can do songwriting camps. So we've actually partnered with APRA AMCOS on a songwriting camp in Adelaide, which was for IndieCon last year. And all of that was not just sound-on artists. We pulled artists from a range of different labels, distributors, independent, etc. I know Q Music has also previously run songwriting camps when I was there. Gyrostream does it. Leverage your community, as Naz said. That's the best way to build connections, build authentic connections, and make music.
That's gonna be a wrap right there. Thank you all so much, Naz, Andrew, Kate, Luke, and of course Alex. Thank you to our panel.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks for
to
having us.
everyone who has come along today.